If you're running a retail business, don't let disorganized order fulfillment cause chaos. Use ShipStation instead. From running a business out of your garage to multiple warehouses, ShipStation is ideal for every phase of your growth. Save time with one login for all your stores and by automating tasks. Plus, you'll get the best shipping rates from global carriers. Calm the chaos with the shipping software that delivers. Start a free trial at shipstation.com/audio. That's shipstation.com/audio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 111 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibby. How are you?
I'm good, man. How about you, man?
I'm doing great.
Good.
We just got done recording a True Crime All the Time episode on Bernie Tita.
We did.
To go along with our Patreon episode that we did based on the movie Bernie, our first kind of foray into what we believe is going to be a movie podcast. And that was fun.
It was fun.
You know, that came out yesterday. Ties in with True Crime All the Time.
Part of our foyer.
Did you say foyer? I said foray.
I said foray.
A foyer, you know what a foyer is.
Yeah, that's
right?
where I hang my coat.
You said foyer. But, you know, check those out if you haven't already. If you're not a Patreon member, it's a great time to sign up.
Jump on board.
We got a lot of cool stuff out there. All right. Speaking of that, let's give our Patreon shout outs. We had Christine Peterson.
Hey, Christine.
Jill Cataldo. Thomas Minchick.
Hey, Minchick.
Warren.
Like Buffett.
Yep. Like Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Probably is Warren Buffett. He doesn't want to put his last name in there.
Well.
Brittany Stone.
Hey, Brittany.
Melinda Mantilla. Haley Hinkle.
Hey, Haley Hinkle.
Victoria Nygaard.
Ooh, that sounds famous.
Yeah, Nygaard is a name that jumps out at me because in this first season of Fargo, which I loved with Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
But the other guy, and I can never remember his name, but the British actor, his name was Lester Nygaard.
Oh.
In the show.
Good stuff.
That's the first time I think I've ever heard of that name.
Sounds like a character in that History Channel show, The Vikings, too.
Yeah, I don't watch that. Right. Kath White.
You say calf?
Kath. Like Catherine or Kathy, but without all the rest.
Oh, like just a catheter.
Just cat. Yeah, why would you go to catheter?
Why not?
That's not a name.
You know, hey, you say it's not a name? Watch. We're going to get somebody that's going to be a Patreon member soon. That will be Catheter Smith.
Sorry, Kath.
But thank you, Kath.
Tommy Lawers.
Lawers?
I'm going Lawers.
Like Jerry Lawers?
Jerry Lawler?
Yeah.
That used to be the wrestler?
Yeah.
That,
WWEFG, whatever it is now.
Ruth.
Hey, Ruth.
Misty Harper.
Misty.
Veronica Wolf.
Hey, Veronica.
Sarah.
Just Sarah.
Lydia.
Hey, Lydia.
Rosie.
So that's a lot of
three one-namers in a row.
Get you guys together and form a band.
Sherry Marshall.
Hey, Sherry.
Brittany Tabeto. Carla B.
Hey, Cardi B?
No, Carla B.
What if it was Cardi B?
The Caleb Hall.
Hey, Caleb.
Lana Hyatt.
Lana.
Who left us a voicemail on True Crime All the Time.
That's why you could
telling
get that
me
name
how to
right.
say her name. Evie.
Hey, Evie.
Catherine Haynes.
Thank you, Catherine.
Quinn Horror.
Horror.
That's a hard name to say. Because if you mess that up,
yeah,
it sounds like something else.
Just go with thanks, Quinn.
Sierra Gillette.
I like that name. Gillette.
Gene Cox.
Hey, Gene.
And Lisa Scheckler jumped out of her high school.
Ooh, the Scheckler.
And if we go back into the vault, Gibbs.
Let's go back.
This week we selected Taylor Roy.
Hey, thanks, Taylor.
So big shout out, longtime supporter.
Awesome.
We appreciate all the support we get. We had some great PayPal support as well.
Okay.
Stephen Kessler.
Hey, Stephen.
Jennifer Murray.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Ted Perry out in Arizona.
Man, there's like back-to-back social media people.
Yep. Tracy McLean.
Hey, Tracy.
And Kim Hester.
Hey, thanks, Kim.
So big shout out to everyone. We appreciate it.
I do like that.
All right. What did I miss? Anything?
What did you miss?
Yeah.
Man, there's so much stuff going on in this world right now.
I meant for the podcast.
Oh, for the podcast itself. Let's see. I think you did well. I think you talked about the movie podcast.
You don't need to recap everything I did. I said, what did I miss?
Oh, okay.
I don't need a recap.
All right. Well, I think we're good.
Okay.
Man.
All right, Gibbs. Are you ready to get into this true crime all-time unsolved episode?
I am.
We are talking about the Cowden family murders. We're going back to late August of 1974. The Cowden family were residents of White City, Oregon. They decided that they were going to take a camping trip. And this was a last-minute deal. So the Cowden family, Father Richard, Mother Belinda, and 2 children, David and Melissa. Now, Richard had a plan to lay a new gravel driveway, but it fell apart because he couldn't get the gravel in time for the weekend, which is when he planned to do it. It was the Labor Day holiday weekend.
Yeah.
So long weekend.
Long weekend.
He's going to have time to install this or lay this gravel driveway.
Man, what a job, too.
Oh, man. I'm sore thinking about it, to be honest with you.
I used to throw rocks like that for a while, man. Ooh, where are you out?
You threw rocks for a reason?
Well, I'm talking about spread them with a shovel. You
Oh,
ever
okay.
spread gravel?
Yeah,
Oh.
but you just made it sound like you were throwing rocks at trains.
Oh, no.
Or
Yeah,
something.
we would just call it throwing rocks. That's
Oh, is that what you
did.
called it?
Yeah, yeah. It was,
Was it like throwing bones when you play dice or
well, that's
dominoes?
now
or
you're getting the voodoo stuff, throwing bones, man. I'm not going to do that.
All right, so it's the holiday weekend. The driveway plan falls through, and that's what leads to this last minute kind of let's go camping, right? They decide that they're going to pack up and head to one of their favorite campsites. And this is a campground near Carberry Creek up in Copper, Oregon, in the Siskiyou Mountains.
Beautiful place, man.
Beautiful place. They'd been there before.
And this is close to where Belinda's mom lives.
So the whole family, Gibbs, is excited to go camping, to have some family time together. They're really looking forward to this, going camping in the mountains. So we don't have a lot of background on the family, Gibbs. What we do know, Richard was born on October 9th, 1946. He was 28 years old, was a retired Air Force sergeant. And at this point in his life, he was driving a truck for a logging company. Belinda was 22 years old. She was a housewife. She was born May 24th, 1952. And then you get to the kids. David was born June 30th, 1969. He was 5 years old. And Melissa was born March 19th, 1974. She was only 5 months old.
Man, that's a baby.
So when we talk about going camping, to be excited to go camping, spend quality family time, I get that.
Sure.
But with a 5-month-old baby,
That's a lot of work.
that is. I mean, if you're doing some real camping where you have tents and no power and,
Yeah.
you're kind of out in the wilderness,
That's get that worm out of your mouth.
Yeah,
Get that poison ivy out of your mouth.
that is not relaxing. But, granted, how many vacations with a 5-month-old are relaxing? 5-month-old babies are a lot of work.
Yeah, they are. That's why I stopped at 2.
The family had a dog that they named Droopy, which is a great name for a dog, especially since it was a basset hound.
Yeah, that's perfect.
They got to the campsite near the creek. This was August 30th. Richard parked the family truck. It was a 1956 Ford pickup truck on Carberry Creek Road. So from this spot, from where he parked the truck, they had to walk to the campsite. They set up their camp and they spent the first night there.
It's always kind of exciting when you get to your campsite and get everything all set up, your tent's up. You got your table out, you got collected your water, everything's, you got your little fire pit ready to go.
Sure. You've been bitten by 4 bees. You've got 17 mosquito bites.
Exactly. You got...
There's a bobcat staring at you.
You got trench
like
foot.
Your dinner.
Trench foot from being in the water all day. Yeah. Good times.
I'm a big camper. Can you tell?
Yeah, I can tell. I will say this. If you ever went camping, I have a feeling there would be some type of portable air conditioning unit flown in, dropped in.
Oh, there's
something.
There's a whole generator that would have to be there because I need my DirecTV. I need a mobile dish. I need a lot of things.
Yeah. Porta potty.
Yeah, definitely a porta potty. And one of those hot showers that runs off of like a propane thing.
Oh, yeah.
Those are cool too.
Just the little necessities.
Just a little.
Yeah.
But they enjoyed that first night. The next morning, September 1st, Richard and David, they headed out for the Copper General Store on foot. So obviously this wasn't the middle of nowhere. There's a general store in walking distance, walking distance.
That's the way to wear that 5-year-old out, man. Get them on a hike early in the morning. Let's go hiking.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
We know that Richard and David arrived at the general store about 9 a.m. They bought some milk, they bought a few items, and then they headed back to the campsite. They were seen. Some local folks saw them headed towards the campsite, but that's the last sighting of any of the family. Now, Gibbs, you mentioned that Belinda's mother lived close. It was actually very close to this campsite, about a mile away. And so the family had made plans with her to eat dinner that night so she could see the grandkids, but she got concerned when they didn't show. She waited, but no one ever showed at the house. So she decided to drive up to the campsite and see what was going on. When she got there, she couldn't find her daughter, her son-in-law, or her grandchildren. She found a tent. She found their camping gear, some drinking water.
She saw the table set up with the milk sitting on top of it, but the milk was halfway gone. So she knew that they were there not too long ago because nobody put the milk back into one of the coolers. You just wouldn't leave milk out all day.
I mean, she found their camp stove, but I think more importantly, Gibbs, and this is where the concern would start to set in, she found the baby's diaper bag along with Belinda's purse and the keys to the truck. I think that would be very concerning. The 4 might take a little trip, a little hike, leave the milk out, come back. They're not going very far with that baby without a diaper bag.
That's my concern. How far are you going to go without a diaper bag?
And is Belinda really going to leave her purse at this campsite
out in the open
where there are definitely other people,
sure.
Right? This is, and I think this is important. It's a campsite where there's bound to be other people, or there's the chance to have other people.
Sure. I mean, it's a state site.
Yeah. This is not you going out and finding someplace in the woods.
Yeah. I mean, if you're back in a state park, you know that you're going to have multiple campers within the area.
Right. This is a place where people camp.
Yeah.
Not a bare spot that you found in the woods. But she continued to look around this campsite. I think she got even more concerned with the things that she found. She found Richard's watch. She also found his wallet. Had $21 in it.
Yeah. And even Belinda's smokes were on the ground. Who leaves their smokes behind, man?
Not a smoker.
No.
Smokers don't go very far without their smokes. She got to the family's pickup truck, and inside she found their fresh clothes. She found their swimsuits. So right then and there, she knew that they hadn't gone swimming.
Right.
But she's concerned, right? That's the main thing to get across. She left the campsite, drove to the nearest phone, and called the local sheriff. The sheriff came out to the campsite. So you have the authorities out at the campsite, but there's really no indication that anything violent happened to this family. There's no sign of a struggle. There's nothing that's indicating to the authorities right off that, something really bad happened.
Yeah, I don't think there's any red flags jumping out at them.
No, they just don't know where these people are.
Right.
So it's not like a massive search was started that night
Right.
to locate the family. But I think the scene was a little eerie. There was a state trooper that told a local paper that the site was spooky, creepy. Just he thought the way that things were scattered about, the milk being half empty was strange, like you said.
Yeah.
Who other than my two kids are going to drink milk and then leave it out?
Yeah, every time I come here, I see that milk half gone. I always wonder, what in the world's going on in this place?
Well, because my kids don't understand the value of $1
Yeah.
and won't put things away. They'll let it expire. Don't get me started. Now you can get me all fired up.
The thing that throws me off the most is the 20 pairs of shoes I step over.
Oh my gosh. And they won't put their shoes up.
Yeah.
So then we get to the next morning and people at the local general store, the one that Richard and his son went to, they heard some scratching at the front door. When they went to see what it was Droopy, the Cowden family's basset hound.
Maybe he's trying to be like Lassie,
Maybe. So the folks at the general store, they alert the authorities. After the authorities learned about this, I think they kicked it up a notch, Gibbs, as far as the thinking of, okay, we weren't sure the night before, but now we're thinking something's not right. So the search begins in earnest for the Cowden family. We're talking state, local police. They had the U.S. Forest Service. The Oregon National Guard was called out. I mean, this was a pretty big search.
Pretty big effort.
It was also a pretty big geographical location, right? We're talking about 25 miles of roads and trails butting up around this campsite. They used helicopters, search planes that were equipped with infrared technology, photography. It was said in some of the research that this search was one of the largest in the state of Oregon's history. So it's a very massive search. But even still, they are unable to locate any members of the Cowden family. And on top of that, they don't even find any evidence of a crime, evidence of foul play, nothing.
They just can't turn up one thing. That's got to be tough for both Richard and Belinda's families. Where are my kids at? Where are my grandkids at?
Yeah, very tough. Authorities interviewed over 150 people. In the early stages of their investigation, family members put out a reward of $2,000 for any information concerning the disappearance of the 4 Cowden family members.
Not bad. 2,000 back in 74. I mean,
yeah, you and I have talked a lot about rewards lately.
Yeah.
They're kind of all over the map, depending on who's putting it up.
I mean, 2074 probably like 15,000, 15,000 today.
Yeah, a lot of money for an individual or a family to offer up. There were some hopes, right, that with the hunting season getting ready to open, there would be a lot of hunters, walking through the forest. Somebody's going to come across signs of the family, if not the family themselves.
And I think that's a really good resource because they know the area. They've been there. They will spend a lot of time within the forest, just not on the trails. So I think at that point, they could stumble across something.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Hunters are probably walking some areas that are less traveled, maybe some areas that searchers wouldn't normally, look in. And the family tries to play this up. They actually call on the hunters for help. Richard's sister wrote a letter to the local paper, the Medford Mail Tribune. She's asking the hunters to be alert, look out for anything related to the disappearance of the family, and if they see something, to alert officials, which I think is a great thing, right? We're not talking about hunters just stumbling across something that they don't know anything about.
Right.
They're putting it out in the paper. Hey, these people are missing. As you go out hunting,
be aware.
Please be on the lookout. But she doesn't stop there. I mean, she goes on to say hey, if you find even like freshly turned earth, don't just walk past it. Check into it. Now, that's a little gruesome.
Yeah.
Because obviously, if you're thinking, freshly turned earth, you're thinking somebody's been buried.
Right.
But I think at that point, you can't rule anything out. You got to be looking for everything.
I think she's covering
Bases.
all aspects. Yeah.
And she ends the letter by saying, we would truly appreciate any clue or help that some hunter may find. I think it's smart. I think it's really smart.
I do too.
A good idea, whoever came up with that, if it was Richard's sister. Local folks, got involved in this. They started writing letters. They made calls to their senator. A petition was filed requesting the FBI to look into this case as a possible kidnapping, right? You have to have a reason for the FBI to get involved.
Yeah, they're just not going to jump into anything.
Right. And it has to fit into their purview. The FBI responded and they denied the request because they said there was no evidence that the Cowden family had been kidnapped or taken across state lines. That would be another reason for the FBI to get involved. But the FBI was in this area. They were busy already because Oregon and Washington had a number of missing women in 1974. The state police looked into those cases to see if the Cowdens' disappearance had any similar traits. They really didn't.
No.
I mean, for one thing, this is an entire family.
Right.
Versus, one woman going missing. But we know, you and I have done a number of cases up in that area. We also know that a lot more women would go missing.
Sure, they would.
In these states. A lot of these would be tied to Ted Bundy.
Yeah. It was a busy time for Ted Bundy.
So we have one of the state's largest search efforts. We have the plea to all the hunters, but not a single member of the Cowden family had been located. The FBI request for help was turned down. On April 12th, 1975, two local gold prospectors, they were scouting, hiking through the forest near the Carberry Creek area. This is about 7 miles from the Cowdens campsite. They stumbled across a horrifying scene. The pair saw an adult male, partially decomposed, but tied to a large tree on the hillside. And near this hillside, on the steep side of it, there was a small cave opening. And when the prospectors looked inside there, they found an adult female body. They found a young child, and they found an infant laying with her, with the adult female, all three bodies severely decomposed. And we know it's 7 months, right? 7 months has gone by. When the authorities get there, when they start to investigate, they pretty much know.
Yeah, I think they know what they have here.
They pretty much know that all these details are fitting.
Sure. The
details of the four individuals of the Cowden family, but they still have to confirm.
Yeah, they got to have some kind of confirmation.
They're going to do that through dental records. And they do. They confirm through dental records that these four individuals are the missing Cowden family. And it's tough. Yeah, because that would be a tough part of law enforcement. Somebody has to call family members.
Yeah.
Or go out to their house in person and inform them that the family was found. They were dead, most likely murdered in the forest.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the rough part. You're sitting there and you're getting that information, but to be told that, which wasn't an accident.
Oh, no.
That
you're not accidentally tied to a tree.
Your son was tied to a tree, most likely tortured. That has to be hard. That's what would be devastating to his parents.
Well, and then the public is notified, right? This is going to get out. It's going to be on the news. These are some horrifying details for the public. And Gibbs, I think this goes down as one of Oregon's most haunting and mysterious set of murders.
No, I think so, for sure.
So the county coroner performs the autopsies, discovers that David, the 5-year-old, had been shot and killed by a .22 caliber round. The coroner determined that the 5-month-old Melissa died due to severe head trauma. Belinda's death was ruled to be a gunshot wound from the same .22 caliber gun. But Richard's cause of death was not able to be determined. The decomposition of his body was even more advanced, right? Because he was out in the elements. The other 3 individuals were inside a cave. Now, the one thing that they did determine was that Richard died while he was tied to that tree. So there was some type of torture involved. They theorized that it had to be a torturous situation. Investigators thought that Belinda and the kids were killed outside the cave and then later placed inside. One theory was that the killer made Richard watch.
That'd be rough.
As his family was killed right in front of him.
That'd be really rough.
It would be. And of course, the police searched this area. They were searching for, shell casings. Obviously, they were searching for the murder weapon, but they didn't find anything. I think that's one of the things that is tough with this case is there's just very little to no physical evidence. But another thing that's really sad, it was just a couple of months after the bodies of the Cowden family were discovered that Richard's dad took his own life.
Yeah, that's devastating.
He was so distraught over what happened to his son, his daughter-in-law, and his grandchildren.
Yeah, it'd be so rough, man.
So police are investigating. One thing they did was they looked at permits, right, for the campsites around where the Cowdens had camped that Labor Day weekend. My assumption is, Gibbs, Labor Day weekend, that probably was a busy time.
Yeah. Big camping season.
Get an extra day, more people out. They looked for campers that were there, right before the Cowden family got there, and those that were there after they disappeared. And they went and interviewed, all of these campers that they could find. And one lead seemed particularly interesting. It was a couple from the Los Angeles, California area. They had come to town, set up their campsite on September 1st around 5 p.m. They told investigators that while they were walking in the state park early that evening, they saw 2 men and 1 woman parking their pickup truck.
So this couple said that these 3 people inside this pickup truck, they were acting kind of strange. They were kind of sitting in their truck waiting for this couple to move on before they would get out of their own pickup truck. This couple then said that these 3 people made them really nervous and kind of gave them the chills. So they decided to move away from this area as quickly as they could.
All right, Gibbs, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor, Best Fiends, without the R. America has fallen in love with Best Fiends. This is a 5-star rated mobile puzzle game. Discover the world of minutia and its cute, courageous inhabitants in this fiendishly fun, free-to-download puzzle adventure. So I started playing the game. Anybody that listens to this show knows that I get addicted to gaming very easily. Right now I'm on level 10, but I could easily get lost in this game if I'm not careful. The problem is I have podcasts to put out. Very bright colors, very easy to play, and it's one of those level games that keeps you coming back for more. But it is a totally different puzzle experience. There is an epic storyline to keep you engaged. It's very casual. You can play alone or with family and friends, and you can play offline. With over 90 million downloads globally, Best Fiends is the game to play. So don't miss out on this must-play game of the year. Download Best Fiends for free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's Fiends without the R. Best Fiends. Play today. And next up, we have to talk about the Parcast original podcast called Not Guilty. It examines controversial criminal cases and tries to determine why solid evidence doesn't always lead to a conviction. If you look at the compelling evidence against Casey Anthony in the disappearance of her daughter Kaylee, defense attorneys turned around and called that fantasy forensics. And she was ultimately acquitted of Kaylee's murder. Amanda Knox served 4 years in an Italian prison for murder before later being acquitted. You look at the media portrayal of Amanda Knox. Was that the profile of a killer or a televised character assassination? And sometimes jurors are responsible for wrongful convictions, as was the case when the Central Park Five were convicted, despite DNA evidence showing none of the suspects were involved. So right now, search for and subscribe to Not Guilty wherever you listen to podcasts. Again, search Not Guilty or visit parcast.com/notguilty to listen now. Now, one of the things that police theorized in their investigation is that whoever committed these murders had to be from the area or had to have previous knowledge of this location. And I think a lot of that centered, Gibbs, around the fact that that cave was kind of hard to find.
Yeah, I think it'd be a strange thing for somebody that doesn't know the area to stumble across.
I will also say this is very eerily similar to True Detective Season 3.
Really?
Yeah, you have not watched Season 3.
I don't watch a lot of TV.
But I'm not going to give any specifics. I don't want to ruin it for anybody that hasn't seen Season 3. But something really strange comes out right after the bodies are found. A local person who had volunteered back in September during the searches told the police that he checked that cave during the searches and the bodies were not there. And obviously he didn't see Richard, the father, tied to any tree.
Right.
That's something he would have told the police, immediately.
Now, the police are going to think, I think you got the wrong cave. I think you're getting this cave confused with maybe the cave you actually did see. We're not talking about the same area here. So the police are going to make him take them up to the camping area and show them, what cave are you talking about? And he takes them exactly where they found the bodies. This is the cave that he inspected back during his search, and they weren't there when he searched it. So at this point, he's made a very strong point to the police. These bodies had to be brought to this site after his search was completed.
But I think that's the one thing we don't know, right? How many days these searches, it was not a one-day search, obviously. Now, he searched that cave on a certain day, but how far into the search? I just don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know what day he searched it. But it's still very interesting.
Well, it definitely makes the investigation more complex.
Well, the police have to factor it in, right? They have to figure out, were these individuals placed into the cave after they were killed, and at what point during the search? What's the time frame?
Yeah.
They're trying to figure all of that out.
And if they weren't there during the search, where were they?
So I think that's the key, right? The police do not know when the family was killed. They don't know where they were during the days of the searches back in September. They don't know who had them, and they don't know why this all happened.
Now, this case would gain some national attention. The local newspaper runs some stories on it, so the national newspapers pick it up. It would spread throughout the U.S. fairly quickly.
Gibbs, and you and I talk about Anne Rule a lot. She seems to come up a lot in the cases that we do. She was a pretty prolific true crime writer.
Yeah.
She wrote a book called But I Trusted You. And this was a book that didn't just cover one case. It, had, I don't know if each chapter was a different case. I can't remember. But in one of the chapters of this book, she does write about the Cowden family murders. Now, police do get on to a local suspect. This is a guy by the name of Dwayne Lee Little. He was only 25 years old at the time of the murders.
But he does have the 3 names.
He does have 3 names.
That's always not a good sign, but a sign.
As do most people.
Well,
Most people just don't say all three names. And his first name, Dwayne, is spelled strangely. Dwain.
yeah,
I'm always leery of people that spell their names strangely. No,
I know.
I'm just kidding.
Mike over there with the M-Y-K-E.
I spelled both my kids' names a little strange on purpose because I wanted them to stand out.
Yeah.
But the other thing about this Dwayne Little is he was just paroled from the state prison a few months prior to the disappearance of the Cowden family. And this guy had a rap sheet at the age of 15. Dwayne went to prison after he murdered a 16-year-old girl named Orla Faye Phipps. But that wasn't all he did, Gibbs. I mean, that was bad. He murdered this girl.
Right.
But after she was dead, he had sex with her corpse.
Yeah, it's sick. Sick.
As a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Luckily, he got caught, right? Because a lot of the serial killers that we talk about, they might start young, but they
Right.
seem to get away with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This kid gets caught right away. He got a life sentence at the age of 15.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a sentence for a 15-year-old.
It is.
But he only did 10 years.
Oh, man, that's I know you people can say he was only 15, but only 10 years for a life. I mean, he took somebody's life, and he didn't take it by driving drunk
By accident.
Yeah, manslaughter, right? He did something horrific.
In cold blood, he murdered a 16-year-old girl
Then he defiled a corpse afterwards.
and then did a little necrophilia.
Yeah.
That seems like more than 10 years to me, but
Yeah.
I'm sure the 15-year-old thing was factored in. But, back to the time that they disappeared. So he had only been out of prison for just a couple of months. Police felt very strongly about this guy. And in particular, they felt that Dwayne was in the area during that Labor Day weekend around where the Cowdens were known to have been camping. So you and I talk about suspects that look good, hit police radar, stay on police radar. This had to be somebody that they were thinking, this could be the guy.
Yeah. Well, you remember the couple from LA that said they saw 3 individuals, 2 guys and a woman in a pickup truck. The police believe this was Dwayne, his mom and his dad in this pickup truck.
Well, they're not pulling that out of thin air.
No, because the parents' truck matches the description of the truck seen that day.
Well, and then there was a local gold miner who had a cabin. This was a place where, I guess as a tourist,
Yeah.
you could come and try your hand at mining.
Yeah, that'd be all right.
And it wasn't that far from the campsite.
Sure.
But this guy said that Dwayne and his parents stopped by his place. They even signed the guest book. I'm not sure why, as a miner, you need a guest book, but hey,
Yeah.
you want to send out a mailer?
That's right. We appreciate you coming. Come back again,
Like the guy in Vacation that's running the cabins.
Yeah.
He's eating that watermelon.
Yeah.
He says, we like to send out a mailer.
Like send out a mailer.
But signing the guest book on September 2nd, pretty good evidence that you were in the area at that exact time.
Yeah. Kind of hard to dispute.
Not sure why somebody would come to this little mining thing and sign your name
Yeah.
in the guest book.
I don't want to put my name down. I'm going to put Dwayne Lee Little's name down and his parents. That's what I'm going to do.
You think that's what he wrote? Dwayne Lee Little and my parents?
And my parents. Ma and Pa. I don't know why I'm using a weird accent right now either.
Because when you say Ma and Pa, you have to say it in a Southern hillbilly-ish accent. It just sounds better.
Does it sound better like that?
No, I think it does.
All right.
But police talked to Dwayne. They talked to his parents. They all denied knowing anything about the Cowdens, anything about their disappearances and the murders.
Well,
What are they going to say?
yeah.
Yeah, we did that.
You got us.
Now, Dwayne did have a girlfriend, and I guess he was cheating on her, which is shocking for Dwayne because he sounds like a peach of a guy.
Yeah, I mean, it really sounds like he would just be an upstanding guy.
He's probably listening to this podcast in prison right now saying, hey, guys, can you lighten up on me?
Yeah, I'm not that bad.
Why such the character assassination? Well, because you don't sound like a good guy.
I say, look in the mirror. Oh, wait. I don't think they have mirrors in prison for you to look into.
I think they do. They're just not made out of glass.
There's not breakable or whatever, so they can.
Yeah, you got to be able to see to like shave and with those little safety things.
Is that what they give them? Just safety razors?
I don't know. I've never been in prison, so I don't know. I thought you knew all that stuff.
Well, it's changed.
All right, so back to Dwayne. He was cheating on his girlfriend. She didn't like that, as a lot of girlfriends do not like to be cheated on.
It's preferred not to cheat.
It's preferred.
Yeah. Or recommended not to.
It's recommended as well. So she goes to police, right? Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Oh, that's for sure.
So Dwayne cheats on her. She goes to police. She sits down with investigators and she says, you know what? Months after those murders took place, I saw Dwayne with a .22 caliber rifle at a Christmas party. Now, Dwayne's on parole, which means he shouldn't have any firearms.
No.
Not even a .22. So police told his parole officer about this, and the parole officer confronted Dwayne. Well, apparently they couldn't find a rifle. So Dwayne had an option to take a lie detector test, but he refused to take it. So his parole got revoked on this firearm charge, even though they couldn't find it, right? The fact that he refused to take the lie detector test was enough for them to revoke his parole. Obviously, he didn't want to take that test.
No.
Because what if they asked him questions other than, just related to that firearm? They expand it to, did you use that firearm for this, this, and this? They get specific about, the Cowden family.
Yeah.
Things could have gone really wrong if he was involved in this murder. But either way, there was a reason why he didn't want to take that test.
Well, I think he knew if they revoked his parole, he'd go back for a short period of time, versus if he said anything that would connect him to that crime, he would be serving most likely another life sentence, if not worse.
Or a life sentence, like the rest of what he had before.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're right. He does go back on this parole violation, but he's not there all that long. I mean, he's out by April of 1977.
Yeah, it's a short little stint.
So what did he go back for?
Well, we know it couldn't be any more than 2 years.
Yeah, so maybe he made a calculated decision to take the 2 years versus expose himself to something much worse. We don't know.
Well, we think he's that smart. I don't know.
But there's a reason that you refuse to take a lie detector test when you know that refusal is going to result in you spending time in prison.
Yeah, that's for sure.
It's not here, do you want to take a lie detector test? And if you say no, you go home.
Right.
I understand refusing that.
He knows something bad is going to happen.
But the hits keep coming, right, with Dwayne Little.
Oh,
we're not done with him. About 3 years after he gets out again on parole. This is June 2nd, 1980. Dwayne Little is near Portland, Oregon, and he stopped his vehicle to assist a stranded woman whose car had broken down.
So he's going to be the good guy.
Yeah. All of a sudden, he's the white knight. He sees a woman in distress. Her car is broken down. He is going to do the right thing for probably once in his life, and he's going to stop and help this woman. It's a 23-year-old woman. Her name is Margie Hunter. She's pregnant. She needs help.
Yeah.
Dwayne stops, but he's not able to fix the car. I'm not really sure how much he tried to fix the car.
All right.
But at the very least, he tells her he's not able to.
Yeah. I'll give you a ride.
I'll give you a ride. So he's able to get Margie into his car and they drive away, presumably to take her to get help. But we know that's not what's going to happen. This is a bad guy through and through. He attacked her. He sexually assaulted her and beat her severely.
Yep.
Luckily, both Margie and her unborn child survived. this ordeal. And later on, she was able to testify against Dwayne. He was charged and convicted of attempted homicide and actually received 3 consecutive life sentences. So he killed a 16-year-old and got 10 years.
Yeah.
Now, granted, he was 15 years old. I'm throwing that in there.
I mean, he got life, but they let him out.
Right. You're right. Life, let him out. Now, he almost killed somebody, didn't kill him, gets 3 consecutive life sentences. What I will say is I am sure they're looking back at the things he's done, his rap sheet. That probably went a long way.
Yeah, and I would think that they considered the unborn as a potential victim as well.
They did. I'm sure they did. Yeah, so I'm sure it was attempted homicide of both of them. I'm not sure what the third, I'm trying to figure out what the third life sentence would have been for, but either way, he's never getting out, which is why I said earlier, if he's listening to the podcast, he's listening in prison.
Yeah, he is.
Now, in prison, Dwayne had a cellmate at one point by the name of Rusty Kelly. And Kelly has told officials that Dwayne confessed to him to killing the Cowden family that Labor Day weekend. Another cellmate named Floyd Forsberg has also said that Dwayne confessed to him about killing the Cowden family. Obviously, Dwayne said that he didn't.
Yeah.
He also has said none of these conversations ever took place. He has nothing to gain by admitting it, but
I mean, at this point, with 3 consecutive life sentences, he's not going to get out anyway.
No, he's never getting out. But, this is one of those cases. It's brutal on a number of different levels. When you think about the dad, what happened to him while he was tied to that tree? I mean, your mind can go to a lot of different things and none of them are good, right? We don't know, but I can tell you right now, whatever it was not good. Besides the fact that he was killed. I mean, what happened to him before he was actually murdered. And then, you talk about a young wife and then 2 really small kids, one of them a 5-month-old girl.
I just can't even, I don't know how anybody can, I don't understand killing anything.
Sure. Yeah, we talk about that.
But when you get into the kid, the 5-year-old, put a 5-month-old, what in the world? Special
kind of person. And I don't mean special in a good way, right? Special kind of evil, special kind of a depraved individual that could do something like that. I think anybody could snap in the right situation and murder someone. I honestly do. I think there's probably millions of people listening. Oh, I wish there was millions of people. There's people listening, Gibbs, that are saying, no way. I would never snap. I would never hurt someone. But put in a certain situation, I think a lot of people are capable of something like that happening, whether it was, to defend or whatever it was, right? I think people could kill people.
No, I agree. I mean,
but to snap and kill a whole family, one of those being a 5-month-old, it to me, it doesn't happen like that. You have a very depraved, sick person that committed these murders. I mean, this case is going on 45 years now, still unsolved. Dwayne Lee Little looks very promising, as probably the lead suspect, but we mentioned it. Very little to, essentially no physical evidence. Without it, pretty tough case to solve. And unless somebody like a Dwayne Little is going to confess to officials, right, locked up before he dies, something like that, this may just remain one of those, extremely brutal murders in Oregon history.
Yeah, so I don't really think this will be solved because 1, of the age of the case, but 2, part of me really feels like it's already been kind of solved. I think we know who done it.
Like who you believe Dwayne.
Yeah, I think
did it as well.
I think it's him for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is not going to be, as far as I know, a DNA bombshell case with no physical evidence. I'm assuming that means no DNA.
Yeah.
they would have said that. So, but I agree with you. I think, like I said, unless he were to grow a conscience and just for some reason decide that he needs to tell people, not besides cellmates. I mean, like somebody that really matters.
Right. That won't ever happen.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen either. But that's it. That's the case of the Cowden family murders. We got some voicemails. Check those out.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. This is Anna from Slovakia. I live in Louisiana by New Orleans right now. And I just wanted to tell you that your podcast is awesome. I started binging your podcast about like 2 weeks ago, and I'm on episode 65, and that's actually the reason why I'm calling you. It's Richard Ramirez, and I just want to say he is not good looking. Not. Anyway, keep up the good work. I have to look into supporting you other than telling everybody now. I feel obligated after hearing 2 weeks of fantastic content. So, see you. Bye.
We're just two crazy, wild type of guys. That's what we are.
Is that what you thought?
That's exactly what I thought.
I thought her English was like 4 times better than yours.
She said she's from Slovakia.
I know.
Is that where they're from when they do that skit?
I have no idea. Plus, that was a horrible Saturday Night Live impression, too.
Well, I didn't say I was going to be like spot on. I mean, you knew it was Saturday Night Live, though.
I knew you were doing the Steve Martin, Dan Aykroyd, two wild, crazy guys.
So it must have been okay.
I can always tell what you're doing. That's how I know how bad it is. If I didn't know what you were doing, I'd just be like, okay,
yeah,
maybe it's good, maybe it's not.
Well, all the millions of people out there.
I said millions. God, if we had millions.
Gazillions.
So I have to give Anna big thanks because, of all those people that have said, oh, Richard Ramirez is so hot.
Yeah.
I just don't see it. And I'm glad she doesn't see it either.
But I know people.
I know you think he's a hunk. Was a hunk. You've talked about, after we did that episode, you talked for a month.
I have a good friend.
About dreams you had about Richard Ramirez.
Well, I will say I have a good friend, and their daughter thought he was hot. You
were doodling pictures of Richard Ramirez as we were on
doodling pictures of me.
Other cases. But how about that? So it has to be our first caller from Slovakia.
Yeah.
But the call was not from Slovakia. She's now in New Orleans.
So maybe we'll see her at Crime Gone.
Maybe we will see her on Bourbon Street. You never know.
Or at the place where you go get your biscuits.
Oh, geez. You're going to find out.
Hi, boys. It's Daisy calling from the UK. I've called in before. I just wanted to call in. I listened to your recent podcast about Morgan Nick, and I just thought it was really interesting what you were saying, Mike, about how children, in general tend to have a sixth sense about sort of stranger danger and when, there are strange people around them. And I had 2 instances, actually, when I was younger, of 2 sort of strange men approaching me, and sadly one of them was a family friend. But anyway, I later found out that both of them were sort of sex offenders, and luckily I'd flagged at the time and stayed away from them. But yeah, so I just thought it was really interesting that I was incredibly lucky that I picked up on that, and that I sort of got away with it in a sense. So yeah, I just thought that was a really good observation. I think it's really true. And yeah, I love you both equally. I'm team Mike and Gibby, and stay safe and keep your own time ticking. Thanks.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love the accent.
Lovely voicemail.
Lovely voicemail. Is that what you said?
I was going to use my English accent, but it doesn't seem proper at this point.
Didn't seem proper or properly executed or
all the above.
Resembling an actual English accent in any way, shape, or form?
Yeah, correct, mate.
Just because you add mate to the end of something doesn't mean it's either British or Australian, because you use it for both for some reason.
I don't know why.
I don't think they say mate that much over in the UK.
I don't think they say it at all.
Hi, guys. This is Max from Atlanta. Haven't called in a while. Hope you guys are doing well. Just listen to the Faith Hedgepeth, I believe it was. I think that private investigator was onto something with them with the Durham police. Maybe they didn't have a lot of experience. Yeah, with the 911 call, remember, I believe she didn't really know where she lived. So that was a legitimate thing. And it wasn't the other roommate, that it might have been the one, Marisol, who was involved. And also, years ago, I worked for a large payroll company, and we only kept video for 6 months, and this was digitized. So with a parking lot, I'm sure it wasn't as, elaborate. So yeah, it seems like the police really, I think it was just, they just didn't have a lot of experience with homicide. And I would guess the numbers, if we looked into it, would probably play out. I hope all is well. I hope you're getting your lifting in there, Gibby. And Mike, I hope everything's going good on the job front. All right, keep your own time ticking, guys. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, we haven't heard from Max in a while. We always love when Max calls in.
He's been busy, man. He's been posting his pictures he goes to the gym like every day. He's a beast, man.
Hey, settle down there,
hey.
Man crush.
Hey.
You don't have to get all worked up.
But he did.
You're sweating.
He did take us on the plane with him and listen to T-Cat to and back from wherever he was over Easter. He posted some pictures.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we like Max a lot.
We do.
The one thing I will say, piggybacking off his voicemail, is we have had a lot of unsolved cases recently where I think police departments who handled either the initial investigation or, were in on it, I think they were departments that didn't see a large number of homicides.
Right.
And therefore probably didn't have as much experience as, other police departments would. Yeah. And I just wonder, how much of a factor does that play in the fact that some of these remain unsolved?
Well, I think it does.
If you just don't have the experience, you don't have the experience. You can't magically just gain it.
No. And I think
you can
today,
follow the rules, the procedures.
I think today they would call in the state police a little sooner, right?
Yeah. Hi, Mike and Gibby. I'm listening to your podcast actually right now. Just interrupted to call. I like to listen to it when I'm working. I drive a couple nights a week late, and love to listen to the different shows. I love the West Memphis 3, a number of other shows. I just like what you guys are doing. I tried to call before and left probably an unintelligible message. I was probably under the weather that day. Can't remember. Doesn't matter. Had a suggestion for you. There's a case that comes from the town I grew up in Illinois, and a girl was murdered on her side doorstep, and it takes some twists and turns, and it leads to Los Angeles, and starts to involve actually Ashton Kutcher, who had to testify as part of this case. It remains technically unsolved on the Illinois side, but several offshoots are solved in California. It's kind of an interesting case. It's close to me. So I found it interesting, and I think you will too. So take a look into that. Anyways, keep up what you guys are doing. Like to listen to the show. Hope for more episodes to come. And, keep your own time ticking.
All right, Gibbs. So either I just had a case of deja vu, or I'm thinking we played his voicemail from before that he said was maybe unintelligible, because I remember somebody just talking about this case with the Ashton Kutcher connection and the solved on one end and unsolved on the other. And I'm thinking it was him.
You might be right.
Or I'm having deja vu.
Or are
you having it too?
Am I even here
right now?
Because
we both can't have it at the same time, can we?
Am I here right now? Does this even exist?
Normally not.
No, exactly.
All right. But I think that's what happened. Either way, we really need to look into this case.
I think that's what everybody's saying.
Because either he has said it twice or two different people have called in about this case. All right, everyone. We appreciate what you do for us. Thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. Keep telling your friends.
Yeah. Check out the movie podcasts on Patreon.
Oh, yeah. Did we talked about that up front?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I'm just reminding everybody. Just see what their feedback is.
Yep. And we're figuring out what we're going to do with that, but it's probably going to become a regular thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.